Welcome to eDiscovery Leaders Live, where I get a chance to chat with luminaries in eDiscovery and related areas. This broadcast is sponsored by Reveal-Brainspace, the industry's leading AI eDiscovery platform. Don't forget to subscribe to watch me, George Socha, weekly with leaders in eDiscovery. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to eDiscovery Leaders Live, hosted by ACEDS and sponsored by Reveal. I am George Socha. I head up brand awareness at Reveal. Each week, I host an episode of eDiscovery Leaders Live where I get the chance to chat with luminaries in eDiscovery and related areas. Past episodes are available on the Reveal website. Go to revealdata.com, select resources, then select eDiscovery Leaders Live. My guest this week is Bill Hamilton, who's rejoining us here. Bill is a senior legal skills professor at the University of Florida Levin School of Law, where for now 10 years he has put on an eDiscovery conference, and that is the topic of our discussion today. Bill.
Hello, George. How are you? Good to see you again, my friend.
Good to see you as well. It's been hours, right?
Indeed.
Well, this is the 10th year of the conference. So first, let's start out with the important details people need to know, like when, where, those types of things.
Yeah, we're really excited about this year for a number of different reasons. One, of course, we're returning to campus. So this is really great news. Last year, we were completely virtual. This year, we're going to be back on campus, but we're also maintaining our relationship with our virtual audience. As I think you know, George, we had over 3,000 individuals attending virtually last year. We're going to make sure that we continue to serve that need out in the community, in the eDiscovery community, by providing a presentation that's not only great for people attending in person, but also wonderful for people online. It's going to be like a TV broadcast. We're going to have our in-person audience watching the live broadcast to a much larger group of people out in the United States and frankly in the world based upon our current registrations.
When will the conference be?
February 8th and 9th. February 8th and 9th. So register. It's free. It's hard to imagine in this day and age where, so much is money everywhere. But the University of Florida Levin College of Law is putting this conference on as a public service. We do this for free because the university is dedicated to improving eDiscovery competence to make sure our judicial process is lubricated and it's working and that it achieves the best results in the most economic and fair way. So sign up, attend this conference virtually. You don't have to attend the whole conference. Many people do, but we have folks that are busy maybe in the morning, they attend the conference in the afternoon. Other folks will find maybe just one or two panels of special interest to them and their practice. So they join just for those sessions. And of course, as always, we record the entire conference and it can be viewed afterwards at anyone's leisure, as long as you register in advance. And you can do that by going to the conference website, www.ediscoveryconference.com. It's really easy to remember, ediscoveryconference.com. Register and please attend virtually. If you can make it to Gainesville, come and join us in Gainesville. It's a tremendous bargain in Gainesville. It's $199, which is the same price we've charged for the past 10 years, George, when you and I started this conference 10 years ago together. So that hasn't gone up. When you think about it, all these CLE credits, we provide lunches, environment on the law school campus is great. You can, in all that, 30 or so national, international experts that are coming to Gainesville for the conference. You can't commingle with a crowd like that really anywhere else, especially for $199. So please come to the conference if you can in Gainesville. Otherwise, attend virtually for free.
For those who do attend either virtually or in person, What can they expect?
Top quality, everyday e-discovery problems being raised, discussed, and resolved. When we started this conference, we had the idea in mind as a survival conference. What we wanted to do, as you recall, George, is we wanted basically to reach out to those individuals that didn't have the resources, the time, and capability of having formally discovery education, such as I teach at the law school or such as big law firms typically provide to their attorneys. So this was a conference that was designed for the mid-level practitioner. Now, as it turns out, over the years, we not only have mid-level practitioners, we have the top attorneys in the nation watching our program and attending our program because of what we're talking about, as well as newbies just coming into litigation. But the idea is that we want to provide in every one of our sessions at least 3 takeaways from that 50 minutes or 55 minutes that can be used by the attendee right away in their practice. So this is not a conference where we have theoretical discussions. We do at dinner, we do in the receptions, and there's plenty of time for that. But in the sessions themselves, what we're doing is we're focused on providing a skill set and tools that the attendees can use right away. Because keep in mind, the mission of the conference and why it's sponsored by the law school is to improve the quality of the litigation process. And of course, that's the glue that holds us together in many, many ways. Folks have to believe that our judicial process will produce the right result, it'll produce it fairly, and it will produce it efficiently. So that's what we're trying to do, and making sure that we at the University of Florida, with our sponsors, friends, and colleagues, provide information to make that happen.
Again, for those attending in person or virtually, what topics can they expect to have covered?
The gamut of topics, for classic topics all the way to new hot agenda items that are going to be at the conference. Of course, we're going to have great openings. We're going to have a great speaker talking about technological progress, deep fakes in litigation. Jerry Bouy is going to be talking about that. Next, we're going to be talking about case law and what guidance case law has provided to attorneys over the past year. We're going to have various nuts and bolts sessions where we come on for 10 minutes, do something really interesting. We're going to have NFTs we're going to talk about, and we're going to be offering NFTs at this conference just as a taste of the future and interesting stuff. And while we're doing that, we're also going to be talking about social justice and how basically legal aid clinics can work with lawyers and e-discovery professionals to enhance the level of justice. We're talking about medicine and electronic discovery in the medical community, construction and e-discovery. Then we're going to talk about preservation. That's always a tricky issue. You think it'd go away, but no, it just the complications get richer and richer every year. Negotiating ESI protocols, you got to get the plan laid out in advance with as much reasonable detail as possible. And then finally, there's always our judicial panel of judges from around the nation that are going to be talking about how you can succeed in e-discovery in their courtroom. Again, on day 2, we're going to be talking about diversity and how teams have to work together and the resources that teams need to draw together to make that happen. And Justice Tanya Kennedy is going to be talking about that. Then the next thing, and this is really important, I think this topic's huge, George. How do we take all this data and put it together? In other words, somebody's posting at Facebook in the evening. They're sending emails the next day. They have a posting on TikTok. All that tells the story together. So how are we going to integrate that data, which is a huge e-discovery problem we're dealing with right now? The next one is, how do I know I'm getting the information from the other side? That's what I'm entitled to. That's money in the bank for me. So how can I analyze the inbound data to make sure it really has what I want? And beyond that, we're going to be talking about attorney-client privilege and strategies of how to avoid sanctions, which is absolutely critical. And then finally, our last panel on Thursday will be moderated by yours truly. We're going to talk about ethics and artificial intelligence and the challenges that AI, which is now proliferating across the e-discovery space, the ethical challenges this are raising, so that none of us yet get burned, by our bars or courts for treading where we shouldn't tread. And you got to know the ethical rules. So, and that's basically for e-discovery professionals, lawyers, and paralegals. We all need to know our ethical standards and the challenges that are raised by artificial intelligence, which is really kind of interesting because artificial intelligence and the use of it, as we've really known for some time, creates risk. So then the real question becomes, how much risk are we willing to tolerate? And that's not something attorneys are used to thinking about. And we're going to have to start doing that and doing a better job of it. So that's the key topics of the conference, with our 30 or so national experts coming in to talk about it. And I want to mention something else about our faculty. Our faculty are not paid. These are volunteers that are coming in, giving up 2 days of their time. And to travel to Gainesville isn't easy. It's not a boondoggle. We're coming to Gainesville is Central Florida, where I live. It's wonderful to be in Central Florida, but it's not the Bahamas, and it's not Southern California or Paris. So our people are coming in for free for the specific purpose of providing this kind of free education that we're talking about at this conference. I want to thank all our faculty members that are listed on the website for their commitment to participating in our conference for, again, the 10th year.
Some people will show up for the pure joy of learning. Others might want to be able to accumulate some continuing legal education credits. What's there for them?
Well, every year we obtain a prior approval from the state of Florida Bar for CLE credits. And typically these are 8 credits per day, and they typically cover general CLE requirements as well as technology, as well as ethics, and then some specialization. Florida has a neat relationship with about 14 other states. And if you basically are from one of those 14 states, which again listed on our website, all you have to do is submit an attendance certificate, and they automatically approve it because it's been pre-approved by Florida. And we, as last year, have hired basically a platform, a partner that's going to help us with CLE. So all you'll have to do is basically go to the CLE portal, obtain your certificate. In Florida, of course, it's self-reporting. You can do it without the certificate, but you'll get your certificate from Florida. And other states, you just get your certificate and submit that to your state. And, bingo, you got your CLE credits. Other states that don't have a reciprocal relationship with Florida, everyone in the past has been very successful, just taking the package, which is basically the website, and submitting it to their bar associations with a certificate of attendance, which we will provide as well. So we're kind of happy about it. CLE is important. Let's not knock it. It's important to get your CLE credits, but CLE is important also because it does drive e-discovery and legal education.
As both you and I have noted in this discussion, this is the 10th year of the conference, which means, of course, 9 years before this as well. How has the conference changed over time?
Well, I think like all good things that start out with the right idea, we've maintained our core mission, which I've kind of described, but we've also added to it year after year, and in terms of enriching the experience of the individuals that are participating. For example, we've enhanced it by having receptions where our attendees can commingle with the faculty. We've enhanced it by having a career day in advance for students at the law school that are interested in seeing how e-discovery education will affect their career, both within law firms and government, but also with potential vendors. We have individual interviews that we put on during the conference where our experts talk about what's happening, little video cameo shoots that go for 10 or 15 minutes. So what we're doing is trying to enrich this experience. And the big thing we're doing this year, which is really enriching the experience for the online audience, which in many ways is our our more fundamental audience, is we basically contracted with a wonderful platform, Whova, that's going to provide all kinds of neat bells and whistles in terms of communication. So our online attendees will be able to communicate more easily with the participants in the conference. They'll be able to communicate more easily with the with other attendees. We'll be having various kinds of, I won't say raffles, but various kinds of events taking place during the conference for the online attendees, as well as polls and things of that nature. So we have a richer this year, an especially rich experience for the first time using this Whova platform. And again, I want to thank the University of Florida, Levin College of Law for making that possible, as well as the sponsors that are on our website that are also contributing to the conference.
With this new platform, what will that entail? Will folks have to download software, wait, say, half an hour for things to load or anything like that?
Not at all. It's a real time. Actually, it's built around Zoom. So essentially, it's kind of a Zoom experience, but on a wonderful stage, if you will. So it's very simple. No downloading software. Look at it right through your browser, and it just clicks along very nicely.
Let's pull back a curtain, if you will. Putting this conference together, as you know, and as I know, is nearly a year-long activity. Describe to people what that process is like.
Yeah, well, you're right, George. I mean, as soon as the conference is over, we start planning for the next year. And what we do, of course, is we do an assessment of how we did the previous year by sending out questionnaires to the attendees and evaluating those questions that have come in. It takes a bit of expertise to design the questionnaire. We basically quantify it, and then we have our planning committee, which begins to work almost immediately. And during the summer before the conference, the planning committee's meeting every 2 weeks, typically, talking about what are the topics that we really want to have. What's hurting out there in the industry? What are people clamoring to know about? And then once we have our topics put together, which typically takes place by September, then we start thinking about who are the very, very best people that we can bring in and that will come to Gainesville to talk about this. Not only individuals who are committed to e-discovery, but individuals committed to education and individuals that know how to talk to individuals so that they can get the basic concepts, that are not going to talk over people's head. They're going to, not only can they walk the walk, but they can talk the talk, if I can reverse the metaphor. So then we spend time talking to them about how to, what we want, what they can do, and then putting the panels together as to who's going to fit with whom. A panel is not simply 3 or 4 or 5 individuals, each one talking. It's a collaborative activity. And that's really the great thing about our conference, is that all the presenters stay for the entire conference. They're in the audience for every panel, and every panel is talking together and talking with the audience, and it's a dynamic environment. And our panelists, frankly, always come away saying, I was glad to contribute what I know, but I always learned more here than I came with, a lot more. So it's really a rich learning environment. So you got to put the panels together properly. Meanwhile, we'd have to do technical things. We're building the website, we're contacting our vendors, we're arranging for hotels and doing all the logistical stuff that you have to do to put on a conference. So it's a big production, and thank goodness our planning committee has worked around the year. And but for the holiday season over the past couple of weeks, we were meeting every Friday to talk about what's happening, what's coming up, and how to make this conference the best e-discovery educational conference there is.
Now, both you and I have been on various planning committees for conferences and other events over the years. How would you compare this experience to those?
I think what we do is we spend a lot more time getting ready. This is not calling up a couple of people and saying, hey, can you come in and talk about this at the conference? We don't do it that way. It's almost planning out a course. And you and I have both taught together at the University of Florida, George. You know what it takes to plan out a course. So our panels require some planning and some work. And that's important. And they spend a lot of time doing that. And we work with them to get it right so that their presentation makes sense, hits the key topics, and is understandable to the audience. So we spend a lot of time doing that. And I think that's what the big differentiating point is for me. And I think the other point too is that all our panels are incredibly collaborative. Some conferences you go to, you have one person speaking 15 minutes on a panel, somebody else speaking 15 minutes, and then somebody else speaking 15 minutes. We don't do it that way. Our panels are all collaborative dialogues, and we don't necessarily know where they're going to go once we get started. And that's part of the fun of the conference.
With 9 years of conferences to look back upon, are there any moments that particularly stand out for you?
What stands out always is the beginning of every conference, because that's kind of the kickoff, and everybody shows up. The auditorium is full. We're looking at people signing on to Zoom, and it's 1,000 are on, 2,000 are on, 3,000 are on. It's really thrilling to have that moment arrive where all our work is coming to fruition, and there's the audience anticipating it and ready to participate and engage with us. There's some unfortunate experiences that come to mind, but where all of a sudden the Wi-Fi dies, there's a technology glitch here, or we find out that someone driving up from Miami got waylaid in Orlando and didn't make it to Gainesville for one reason or another, and we had to solve that panel problem. So those are typical things, and as you can see, it's in retrospect, it's fun to laugh about them. But I think the real exciting event for us is the start of every conference. That's the peak experience. Now it gets better after we start, but just getting that start and having it come together is just so much fun and so thrilling.
One of the things you've done at the conference several times, I actually don't recall whether you're going to be doing it this year, is the boxes. Explain what that's about.
Well, the boxes, one of the concepts that attorneys struggle with is the concept of precision and recall and the balance between the two. We all think we know that, but do we really know it? And it's really great to be able to see that relatively abstract concept play out. And we just have 30 or so boxes, and we talk about, well, how are we going to measure, and they're different colors, how are we going to measure which ones are relevant and which ones are not relevant? And then it's a mathematical relationship comparing the two. That's all precision and recall is that mathematical relationship, which is a good example of what we try and do with the conference, is we try and do all kinds of things like that make basic fundamental concepts more intuitive to individuals, so that they're not just thinking they're out there, talking the talk, but not being able to really grasp what's happening underneath the hood, if you will. So what we want to do is we want to make the hood transparent and simple to understand. And
that's easy to do, right?
No, that's why we've been doing it for 10 years. It's very, very difficult and complicated. It's one of the reasons I love teaching, is that's the challenge of education, is to make that work. And we bring all those experiences, and we have lots of educators that are on our panels that have taught at universities and in other locales. And they bring that experience to bear in terms of what makes it click for the audience. We want that aha moment to be happening repeatedly, all during the conference, and that's the goal.
If people have questions about the conference, if they have suggestions for how they would like to see things done, if they have thoughts about topics for the next year or speakers or the like, how do they best communicate that information?
Well, it's real simple. They can just send me an email, hamiltonw@law.ufl.edu. Again, that's hamiltonw@law.ufl.edu, and I'll respond. Now, if you have suggestions and ideas, and we want to know what we did right and what we did wrong, we want your input. You'll be able to do that during the conference, because if you're in person, you can just come up and talk to me. If you're online, you can basically use the Whova who have a platform to communicate with us and let us know. And alternatively, you're going to get a questionnaire after the conference, a survey, where we want all the input that you can possibly provide, because frankly, that's one of the reasons the conference gets better and better every year. When you say this is the 10th conference, it is, but it's not as though this is like, one, then another, then another, then another. This is a build. So this is a 10-year build. It's like 10 years of enrichment coming to fruition each year. And we do that in part, by having our participants provide feedback and comments and letting us know how we're doing and what they want to see.
With the conference, you are, of course, trying to draw in people from a wide range of roles, backgrounds, with a wide range of responsibilities from all over the planet. You also want to draw in UF Law students and faculty, right?
Of course. But not just UF students. They have a tremendous advantage because they're right on campus. And, I'll be teaching my e-discovery course, as I always do, almost every semester, and I'll be teaching it again this spring. So my students will be attending the conference as part of their course, which is just wonderful for them. They'll be hanging out with these 35 national experts and judges, getting a rich experience of what e-discovery is like, and understanding that e-discovery is not just for the technical specialist who has a mathematical orientation or a technical computer bent to them. E-discovery is what we all did as attorneys when we practiced, litigators at any event. We were doing that before it was called e-discovery. It's information, and any good litigator wants to get a hold of, understand, and utilize all the information that can assist in getting the best possible result for their clients. So we're getting our students up to speed on that mindset, so that's what they're thinking about. And then e-discovery becomes another critical skill set they need in order to be excellent attorneys. Just like they have to know the law, of course, but you have to have a good skill set in taking depositions, have to have good trial skills, have to have good e-discovery skills, every litigator. So we want students to come to the conference, and it's not merely UF Law students. Other students can come and visit if they want for the conference, but they can also attend online. And I would think that they would want to do that. Faculty members will also attend. E-discovery is a hot topic. Discovery is critical in terms of social justice. So we have any number of our faculty at the University of Florida attending. We have faculty from all the other colleges that attend the conference as well, either in person or virtually. So it's a big event at the University of Florida.
What should I have touched on or asked about that I didn't?
Well, I don't know they should have asked about anything. I will just remind folks that George, when I first had the idea of doing the conference, and it was basically as an outreach, because when I started teaching as an adjunct many, many years ago, the idea was a survival course for students. And then it occurred in conversations with George that survival information is required much more broadly than just the law school. And George was in charge of EDRM at the time. So we discussed how can we have an outreach program, not merely for a class at a law school, but a law school that's reaching out to the larger e-discovery community. And we came up with a conference, and it was originally called the UF Law EDRM Conference, if I have the URL correct in the back of my mind, George. So I want to thank you for being my partner for 10 years.
Well, and you for the opportunity that doesn't come along often, to be able to do something like this for this long and have such an impact.
We're real happy about it. And it's nice to think that you've had an impact, and it's nice to have fun doing it.
Yeah. Well, Bill, thank you very much. Bill Hamilton is Senior Legal Skills Professor and Executive Director, E-Discovery Project at the University of Florida Levin School of Law. I am George Socha. This has been E-Discovery Leaders Live, hosted by ACEDS and sponsored by Reveal. Bill, thank you so much for joining us this week.
My pleasure.